Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Tran and I'm presenting my country tour on Costa Rica. Costa Rica's neighboring countries includes Nicaragua, which is going to be right up to the north, and then you're going to have Panama, that's going to be right down to the south. Unfortunately, Costa Rica doesn't have that many neighboring countries. It's actually just bordered by the North Pacific Ocean, and then you have the Caribbean Sea, which is out to the right. On the other side of the Caribbean Sea, however, are some of the other countries that we've studied so far, including Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. Now let me just swing down into downtown San Jose, Costa Rica, as I tell you about some of the basic facts about Costa Rica. Costa Rica's population is approximately 4,695,942 people, so drawing close to about 5 million in total. The annual growth of Costa Rica is about 1.3%. The capital's population, San Jose, is about 1.9 million since 2009. The total area is approximately 51,000 square kilometers, which isn't too big compared to other countries in Latin America. The expenditure on health is 7.4%. The under 5 mortality per 1,000 live births is a 10. The life expectancy at birth is 79.4 years. The expected years of schooling of children is 13.7 years. The adult literacy rate of both sexes, ages 15 and older, is 96.2%. The mean years of schooling of adults is 8.4 years. And the gender inequality is valued at 0.3, making Costa Rica currently ranked 62 on the Human Development Index. For Costa Rica's economy, Costa Rica's GDP per capita is about $12,600 since 2012. The GDP growth rate is about 4.8%. The inflation rate is about 4.5%. Costa Rica's investment is about 19.9%, so percent of the GDP, so about 20%. Would have been easier to just say. Costa Rica is still developing their economy. However, they are the most economically stable country in Latin America. Their agricultural exports includes bananas, coffees, and sugar. Where I have flown you out to is Puerto Viejo de Sarapique, where the major producing area of bananas is. And now I'd like to take you out to Zoo, Costa Rica, which is one of San Jose's provinces, where the finest coffee beans in the world are. They also carry goods and services with technology, including producing microchips for Intel, which is right out in Belen, Costa Rica, and this is just one of 3 locations of Costa Rica where Intel Incorporation is. In addition, Costa Rica is very popular for their tourism, especially ecotourism. So I want to take you back out to Limon, Costa Rica, where the Tortuguero National Park is, and this is where tourists come to go canoeing. Some even go out to the Costa Rican rainforest to go hiking. Now let's just shift gears into Costa Rica's contemporary political history. It's not until the 20th century that Costa Rica would encounter any drive towards a consolidated democracy. Costa Rica's last military regime was at the beginning of the 20th century, when the Teneco rebels would resume power until the invasion by the exiled elite that would end their term. After Costa Rica experienced constitutional rule and the electorate system, it would serve as importance to Costa Rica's politics. During the 1940s, President Rafael Calderón Garcia would be the first to enact and implement Costa Rica's first labor and social security laws. However, his issues with electoral fraud would lead to a violent civil war between him and Social Democrat Jose Figueres. The rebels would defeat Calderón, and for the next few decades, up until the 1990s, Costa Rica would be led by Figueres and the National Liberation Party. The significance of the Civil War was that it would define Costa Rica's political life for the rest of the 20th century, and since then, Costa Rica would partake in an honest election. Off and on, the National Liberation Party would gain and lose control in government, but would willingly give up the legislative assembly to the opposition. But before moving on, let me just brief on what the legislative assembly is for those who aren't doing their project on Costa Rica. The assembly is Costa Rica's national government building, and it's located in San Jose, Costa Rica, the capital. It runs on a unicameral system and it holds about 57 seats. Although Costa Rica was still developing their democracy, global forces would intervene and cause Costa Rica to continuously adjust their institution. Costa Rica's development in the economy and its people grew well into the 1960s. However, according to Booth from Understanding America, Costa Rica was still dependent on market prices for their exports and imports. The problem began in the early 1970s. Booth mentions that since there was a decline in the working class wages, it would cause citizens to join in on protest organization. And through the 1970s and 1980s, Costa Rica's working class wages would fluctuate up and down, and it caused the various shifts in income distribution. As for Costa Rica's system of political parties, it remained stable, even though there was a spread of different political parties that emerged. By the late 1970s and 1980s, there was no extreme anti-regime uproars, which is good. Right now, I just want to quickly brief on the Central American Common Market so we can grasp a better understanding of when the Legislative Assembly adopted neoliberalism. The Central American Common Market played a huge role in Costa Rica's economic growth. Costa Rica had the largest share, as well as being second rank in the manufacturing contribution. When legislation and the executive adopted neoliberal economic policies, it may have caused mobilization and protest, but it kept citizens under fair circumstances. Neoliberalism varies in impact, one being the redistribution among the people, which alienates certain workers but then boosts others, and secondly, it adds changes to certain parties, which brings me back to what I was saying earlier about how Costa Rica had to push through those global forces and had to adjust their institution. The party differences between the traditionalists and the reformers would alternate coming to the end of the 20th century due to the parties that agree with neoliberalism and parties that did not. In the mix of with all the party changes, during the 1990s, Costa Rica's economy was stabilized, and it was not until the early 2000s that the market prices were declining, including Costa Rica's exports on coffees and bananas. The stagnation in neoliberal policies would be a huge factor to increase the unemployment and inflation. It was not until 2004 to 2008 that Costa Rica would try to re-stabilize their economy. There was a lot of debates over the Central American Free Trade Agreement being implemented in Costa Rica. Different parties all had different takes on the agreement. There were parties that promoted anti-CAFTA, but by 2009, Costa Rica would be the last country in Latin America to actually implement the agreement. Even though Costa Rica was in the middle of a recession in 2009, Costa Rica's economy would be the most developed compared to its neighbors by that time. The current president is Laura Chinchilla. She is the first female president of Costa Rica. She won president in 2010, and she was a former vice president to Iris, who was the previous president. Currently, the National Liberation Party holds the legislative majority, and the party platform is social democracy. PLN believes in having public and private enterprises, as well as promoting social welfare. As for the gender composition, as of the 2010 election, women hold 22 seats out of the 52, which is about 38-39% of seats. That's pretty impressive. That would also explain why Costa Rica is ranked second out of all the other countries when it comes to gender equality in institutions. Well, I hope that you guys have enjoyed my country tour on Costa Rica, and I hope that you've learned a lot about this beautiful tourism country. I'm sorry for all the stuttering that I did. It was a lot to move around and explain. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.